Good morning. People talk about job transition as if it is an independent, discrete event, whereas whether we went to school or not, whether we studied astronomy or history or accounting or finance or computer science, those things determine what kind of careers we will take on and what kind of skills we will have to be able to handle certain types of challenges. Therefore, the transition, job transition, career transition is a continuous event that happens to us every day of our lives. What do we do in our leisure? Who do we network with? What kind of hobbies do we have? All of those things tied together. Like all my videos, all my training material is not meant to be presentations for people to sit and get certain points. It is a quick run through of the major principles and concepts, which is an invitation to study for further analysis for anybody who is interested. Having said that, Rumi here on the screen talks about let's not deal with what we think it is, what it appears to be, what we like it to be, but let's take a look at what it really is, the true nature of all things. These are the principles which are primarily used for job transition based on my research. The guiding principle in any job search, any career transition, is to get the emotional commitment of the hiring manager or someone who knows the hiring manager. Because hiring somebody is a personal emotional buying decision with dire consequences if the wrong person is hired, because the person may be incompetent, may buckle under pressure, may lack interpersonal skills, may even make a scene and make the hiring manager's life untenable. Therefore, for people who are in career transition, which is at all times, we need to remove all the risks from the hiring manager's perspective. We understand the nature of hiring somebody, and therefore we can relate to the empathy, to empathize with the hiring manager's dilemma. We want them to be sure that if they hire us, they will get a promotion, they will get a fat bonus, they will be able to buy a vacation home, they will be able to send their kids to college, they will be able to retire to the golden pound. So that's the idea, that we need to give that emotional satisfaction and security to the hiring manager or somebody who hires the man, who knows somebody who has a job to hire somebody for. We need to get their emotional commitment. We need to make them feel secure that they can put their lives down and say, okay, yes, hire this person, he or she is good. A second part of a guiding principle is the principle of continuous improvement. Anytime we do anything, we say anything, we need to make sure that action, word adds significant value rather than being a non-value added activity. And it is not error-prone, it is error-free. We do not set ourselves up for misunderstanding or conflict. These are ideals, like how the gravity works, predictable, repeatable, works anywhere, anytime, with anybody, with or without their understanding. Principles are very exacting. These are the ideals. We are aiming for that. Because of the human traits, the 6 human traits, one of them is called the predisposition. We have prior conditioning. So when we are in certain circumstances, what comes out is our conditioning, and in many ways we cannot help it. You cannot process and filter every single thing that you're going to say at all times. It's very difficult. It is something we can practice to improve. However, it is not always doable. Another principle that's helpful for the job transition process, especially of the kind of ownership we need to have. We need to own the quest, this career transition, which is really for all of our lives. Sanzi in the outer world says, study warfare extremely well because the survival or the perishing of a nation depends on it. It is a subject that can either lead to survival or lead to ruins. It cannot be neglected. Same idea. Understanding the law of diversity. If you look at all the trees on earth, from the tallest tree to the shortest tree, there are trees of different heights in between. Same thing with the fastest fish, with the slowest fish, the darkest night to the brightest day, the wettest water to the driest desert, the sweetest ice cream to the bitterest melon. Anything that you behold, sharp and dull, flat and bumpy, straight and crooked, all of that. Duality is marked by two extreme endpoints with continuum in between, which is filled. And that means our universe, our creation is diverse, and therefore we need to conform to that diversity. Human beings, we prefer, I prefer one point as to white is better versus sweet versus whatever. And when we insist on that one point, it makes us very narrow-minded, very closed, and unable to deal with people who are different or circumstances which are different. By imbuing this quality of diversity into our persona, into our habit, into our automatic response, it allows us to tackle more difficulties, more challenges, and take on more jobs, which is tied to the survival, your personal survival, as well as the survival of your family, clan, of those who depend on you. Owning the quest. When the person begins to understand their own nature, they begin to understand the nature of other people. When they begin to understand the nature of other people, when we begin to understand the nature of all things, when we begin to understand the nature of all things, we can participate with heaven and earth in the transformation of life. So what's the quest, this career transition, job transition? The nature of the quest that it fits into this parabolic patterns of life. There's this expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. The first expansion is when after the Big Bang, the energy expanded, and then it contracted, stardust started to form. When we breathe, our lungs expand, contract. When we look, our pupils dilate and contract. When we swallow, our throat, our esophagus contract and expand. When we walk, our muscles expand and contract. When we hear, our eardrums expand and contract. High tide, the ocean expands. Low tide, the ocean contracts. Springtime, trees expand. Wintertime, trees contract. As such, when we look at a career, the moment you get a brand new job, it's expanding. But the moment you buy a new car, the car begins to get old. The moment you finish eating, you begin to get hungry. The moment you get a new job, you begin to lose that job. That is a parabolic pattern of life. So we understand that. And we don't go into despair, woe is me, victimization when we are on the downslope in the parabolic patterns of life, when we are coming down, because that's the point of the greatest opportunity. That's where you can focus, you can prepare, and you can really increase velocity, and when you come out of the curve, you'll go to the next peak, which is with a much, much higher reach. Why? Because you're able to solve more difficult problems. You have more insights. You have the leader's edge skill, understand the big picture. You have the process ninja skills. You know how to execute certain things, the difficult challenges that other people don't know how to execute. And this is not about being egotistical or arrogant. This is understanding what the challenge is, the nature of the challenge, and having the skills to deal with it. So the other aspect of owning the quest is that we need to have passion personally. We need to understand the nature so we can have faith, right? We understand the parabolic pattern of life, so the faith that the job search will end. It's coming. And what also helps with the faith is syntropy. It's a law, which is the opposite of entropy, which syntropy started. I have separate videos talking just about syntropy for 1 hour on female. So this is a high-level overview. Syntropy says, through planning and thinking and visualization, you can create things of much greater complexity and form and structure. And all creatures, a mango seed knows to become a mango tree, a baby giraffe knows to become a giraffe, a caterpillar knows to become a butterfly. That's the tool that we can use, and we have faith in the law of syntropy, which is the opposite of entropy. And it can be, and this is a topic by itself for many hours. Another part of the quest that we need to be aware of is hope, right? We want to have hope. We want to be positive. And if you look at our Earth, our life system here, it's biophiliac. It loves life. Life is abundant. Life is pervasive. And life is diverse. In the bottom of the ocean where there's no sunlight, there's chemosynthesis, where by the hydrothermal vents, colonies of crabs, crustaceans, fish, corals, clams, not corals, clams, they all live there. And it's the great number of our fruits, of our fish. Life is abundant. Life is everywhere. And there are so many different varieties. So how does this help you to give you hope? There is a place for you. You can carve out your own niche. You can create through the law of syntropy. Pretty much over time you can be whoever you want to be. Passion. Passion for the quest. In my personal case, my personal mission statement has become 4 words after 20, 30 years of working on personal mission statements. Advanced consciousness, reduce suffering. Workplace is a place of great suffering. Not having money, not having the ability, being frustrated. It's a source of suffering. Therefore, when I go to work, when I do things like this, I'm advancing consciousness to reduce suffering. And that is so aligned with the very meaning of my existence. I would do it for free. If I didn't need money, I would pretty much do the same thing, and I'll do it for free because that's what I want to do. And I have passion for the quest. I have zeal for the epic journey that we are all on in our own lives. The second ownership is owning a path. Principle-centered leadership. We know what the employers want by understanding our own nature and begin to understand the nature of the employers. They want to have no risk. They want a promotion. They want a bonus. They want the project to get done. They want the company to be successful so they can be successful. We know that. And then we need to be efficient in how we spend time or energy rather than blaming a company or not being able to speak English properly and don't want to improve it, and not going to Toastmasters Club, and when our speech is really not flowing, we haven't studied the CAR model for our resume. CAR, challenge, activity, result. I have the Tao of Job Transition video on Vimeo that talks about these technical execution and the principles applicable for each stage of the job transition life cycle. So subjugate the ego and overcome the 6 human traits, because we know what our goal is, and we know we need to be efficient to go about it and not go against it and not badmouth and not to have PMBOK-itis, project management body or knowledge itis, inflammation. I saw a graduate student from Cal State Northridge. He was saying, well, I was having an interview with a small company and I told the CEO and HR that they are doing it wrong because that's not what the PMBOK is saying. We shouldn't be doing that, because that does not increase the emotional commitment of the employers that we can solve their problems from where they are based on their needs, based on their budget. They have to keep the lights on and make payroll. Owning the self, be proactive. Power is within you. You can make it easy spatially, time-wise, distance-wise, being available to make it easy for people to help you. And remember what people say and be connected. So in every interaction, every word, when you deal with your cohorts, friends, and so on, you never know who is that person who knows a hiring manager and who is willing to make an emotional commitment to you and be willing to put their reputation on the line to recommend you, right? So you don't know who that person is going to be. Therefore, you want to align your actions in accordance with those principles, that the principles we talked about on this page. And we need to be like water. Water is agnostic of fear. Water does not hold a grudge. Water is focused on the goal of pursuing gravity. Water is flexible. Water is decisive. It's focused. Be like that. Rather than having too many human hang-ups, too many predispositions. I don't like this. I don't like that. I want to have a job a career transition across industries at the same level, at the same pay. I want to be a full-time employee. I only want to work how many hours a day, and I never want to work overtime, and I want a title to be like this. That's great. However, you may be looking at a world that no longer exists for you, because at one point you were the prima donna, you were the big shot in your first project, second project, first company, second company. You become a principal, a big deal, a VP, and then at some point you become nobody because the company is no longer there, project is no longer there, your boss is no longer there. That's why it's important for us to make our power context free. Power is wielded within certain context. To the extent you can extract those powers in terms of skills and principles and ability to quickly solve problems, understand problems, connect, and give people the confidence and actually be able to deliver as an obligation to the customer and to give work to the workers, that ability without the context is what we are talking about here in the art of execution. And in the duality skills section of the art of execution, we talk about existential life skills, emotional skills, ego skills, boundary skills, how not to go into fight and flight, how to set your boundaries, how to allow people to be who they are and without interfering with them. However, when the task and the goal is interdependent, then we need to cross over the boundaries. How can we do it with duality skills and cohesive skills to de-escalate and not escalate into conflict and make it palatable so people can focus on the topic of improvement and reaching that common goal rather than fighting. Oh, I'm better than you are, I'm prettier than you are, I'm bigger, a better star than you are, and so on and so forth. Here's a case study. A person gets a job opportunity, and the person had enough emotional commitment from somebody who knows a hiring manager to make the introduction, and the hiring manager sends back the job description with more detail from the hiring manager's, it's a director's perspective. And so 70% is analyzing data, and then now this person says, this is a job seeker. I should never even have applied for the job because I don't know SQL to that extent. So this is one example, right? So in my mind, and I may be wrong, the guiding principle for me in going for a job interview is to get the job. You don't want to lie, you don't want to be dishonest, but you want to remove their doubt that you don't have the exact experience they are looking for. However, you have some skills and you can work very hard and you can show up at the interview having studied SQL for 30 hours, going to YouTube and find multiple sites where you can actually build databases. And these are for people who have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years. So they understand this stuff. They're just sharpening certain aspects of the skills. And the hiring manager knows they cannot hire somebody that fits what they need 100% because why? Because of the law of diversity. People have different personalities, people have different conflict management skills, people are at different stages of their career development life cycle. Are they a hands-on apprentice? Are they a hands-on expert? Are they a group level manager? Are they an organizational leader? All of these things change. It's dynamic. They are like at least hundreds of variables. And each person is at a different point on those variables. So to find an exact match, this is not like construction. You're not putting a building up, which is based on civil engineering laws and structure and material and all of that, strength of materials and the leveling of the ground, the draining of the sewer. That is more scientific. But when you are dealing with human beings, it is meant to be diverse, and that's why the risk, that's why the variation, that's why the disconnect. So in this case, the point is trying to show that you don't want to filter yourself out. You don't want to lie. You don't want to be a sophist. However, you want to show that you have the ability, you have the background, you are willing to learn, and you can learn. go and demonstrate that. In organizational change, which is the same principle, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, ADKAR. This is the organizational change set of principles, and same thing with personal change. Nobody wants to be surprised. They want to be aware. They want to know why they should do it. They want to know how to do it. They want to be able to do it. They want the reinforcement so they can turn this into a disposition, an innate skill. Awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement. Again, I'm going through different topics very quickly, pretty much touching on them within 1 hour, everything. We talked about diversity. I may be a senior in project management principles. However, I may be brand new in the satellite TV industry, in the antivirus software industry, or in healthcare. I may have 28 years in banking. So every day I may be in stage 1, hands-on apprentice in certain aspects of operations for providers, getting the doctor's information, or membership, enrollment of members, or paying of claims, or loading of members from the membership database into the claims processing systems. In order to stay current with the changing world, stage 1 is hands-on apprentice. My personal belief is anybody should be in stage 1, maybe 30% of each day. Why? That means you are learning something new. You're apprenticing on something new. You're continually expanding your knowledge, expanding your skill. So if you are the perfect expert and every day everything you do, you have full expertise in, that means you are stuck. You're not growing. And that's not the healthy way to be, because everybody knows there are 2 things constant in life, principles and changes. And that's why we use principles to match against the changes to make it work. Variation, we talked about. Human beings, the events in life, duality, everything is dualistic and diverse. Therefore, we need to adapt ourselves by using principles, and we want to qualify for those jobs which are in diverse environments by having this set of power which is context-free. We talked about being like water flowing. In Chinese, the word law basically has 3 dots here, 1, 2, 3, and then here means on the right side means how it goes. So law or method in Chinese means in writing, the character means how the water goes. Being proactive, internally driven, take full responsibility for owning the quest, owning the path, and owning yourself. And owning the quest has 3 components to it. The passion is one of them. Faith, hope, and passion. Do not insist on a form. Be amorphous. If you have to take a 50% pay cut, I took 40% pay cut, but it's okay. As it turned out, I was most highly paid given how many hours I worked and how much I accomplished and how much I got paid. So do not be rigid, do not be fixed, do not lock into something that filters you out. And get to the truth. Process ninja skills. All of life is about going from point A to point B. I'm hungry now, I should go have breakfast. Point A to point B. I want to go to work, A to B. I want to go to college, A to B. I want this job, A to B. I want this project, A to B. Doing the requirements, A to B. Doing scheduling, A to B. So it's generic. Between A and B, there are multiple steps. Make sure each step adds significant value and is error-free. And to know things like common cause versus special cause. If 10 people who come to your desk, out of 10, 7 of them trip, something is wrong with the passageway. That's called common cause. But if just one person trips, maybe the person was drunk, or person had high heels, or person was, working on the phone and walked into the wall. Solving common cause problems as if they are special case is a management problem that exacerbate the situation. And the Six Sigma black belt, green belt, master black belt, this topic can go on for weeks. It is understood when we are going through job transition that also is a process. We want to make sure we understand the process, and I have created notes on how that process, the job transition life cycle, job transition guiding principles, job transition life cycle and guiding principles. You want to go through certification, you want to network, you want to meet with people, and the guiding principles in making authentic connections. How do you prepare your resume? The guiding principle for preparing a resume is that you want to get an interview and not get filtered out. And anybody can say, I'm a seasoned professional who can come in ahead of schedule, under budget, and a great team player, managing conflicts. Anybody can use those words, no adjectives. Show by quantifying, give examples, and use the ADKAR model for each job that you have had, and so on. The resume critique, how to target jobs, customizing the resume for the job, getting the interview. I have a video here on the Tao of job transitions. Then you have a team of people who will do mock interview with you, one-on-one, phone, and panel interview, and the guiding principles there. Preparing for the interview, during the interview, after the interview, prepare for the second interview. I know a friend who was able to generate 4 second interviews in 1 week. Her specialty was she had a roster of recruiters and she continually worked them, and she was very good at doing that. Different people have different styles. Some people maybe go for 2 interviews, and out of 2 interviews they get 1 job offer. Some people may go for 20 interviews and they get 2 offers. So we have the job transition life cycle here. Nobody wants to be an expert in job transition. However, to understand where one is and what one needs to focus, this is written to support that. Once how do you decline a job offer? Once I was offered the job, I'll share details some other time. And if you didn't get a job offer, you might be the second runner up. What could you do? What should you do? Day 1 at the job, how to grow roots quickly at the new job. I had friends who lost their jobs 2 weeks into the job, 3 weeks into the job, a month into the job. So what are the principles there? And it's not all about getting a job, getting an interview, and keeping the job, right? Sometimes you feel there's not a good fit. Sometimes you feel, in my particular case, I've been in corporate America for 35 years, 28 years in one company, Citibank. So I'm at a certain point in my life, I need to move. If I sit down somewhere for 5-10 years, I'll be retired, right? So there's more to life than just bread. However, without bread, one cannot, with no margin, no mission. I understand that. At the same time, I also need to pursue my life, my passion, my fulfillment, my dream, the realization of who I am, right? So it's not about just getting a job. First 90 days and applying the art of execution once you get a job. This is the only personal organizational transformation framework that has ever been created. I created it. It can be delivered in a 1-week workshop, and I have lots of videos and different segments on this. And this is an invitation to study. I don't have anything that's polished, professionally finished. I have 400 pages of notes, 50 hours of videos around the topic, and I have some very condensed ones in YouTube. So I'll be happy to share them with you. And after 2 years at the job or a project, think about moving on to grow and to increase your skill sets that will allow you to take on bigger and bigger projects because of your exposure and experience. That's the checklist of the job transition life cycle. Cohesive skills. Everybody goes through life. Everybody has an agenda. They have different personality. There's some people with integrity. Some people are sophists with lots of sophistry, untruth, the master of none, backstabbing, networking, spying, controlling, intimidating, supporting, collaborating. So it comes, again, diversity, law of diversity reigns, and let's not be startled and overreact to anybody who is different from us. They're different from us doesn't mean they are wrong just because they are different. They have survived and grew up in different environments, so they have different predispositions, the 6 human traits. One of the 6 human traits, predisposition. Then we'll go through the art of execution very quickly to applying the principles for job search. Connect to reality, right? You never walk in snow barefoot. You don't want to be working day and night around the clock on the wrong things, only to be bitterly surprised and defeated. I actually had this friend, 2 of them, both very hardworking, founding mothers of their systems. Their kids go to MIT, so these are very technical, very smart people, and quote unquote, they were one of the person said was, I work after hours, I work weekends, I work during PTO, and they treat me this way. So she was very heartbroken and crying and pretty much despair, went to HR, parked herself there, tried to find a job within the company, and eventually left the company. But that's not what it is. In some organizations, when the accountability is not 100% necessary, the higher the turnover, the more the loss of knowledge, the more it renders leadership and management blameless in the lack of results and lack of process and lack of productivity, because people are unloyal, are disloyal. People are not devoted to their job. People are jumping ship. So what am I to do? And then in the process, they can bring people that they like. So when you are in a different situation, you gotta understand the game, the scheme, what's going on, who is doing what, why they are doing certain things. And not so much you want to buy into it or bow to it, but at least you understand it so you know what to do, what not to do. Because unless you're ready to leave or unless you're ready to take over the reins, if you can get that power, it's better just, the goal is to stay in the game. In the art of execution, for somebody who can transform an organization, understanding the processes, understanding the organizational structure, the culture, the communication system, performance system, appraisal system, training system, onboarding system, and the current results from the company and the stakeholder needs, and there's a mismatch, be able to do the analysis. That's called the leader's edge skills. And understand the culture, why is that way? If something is broken, why is it broken? Why is it not fixed? Who broke it? Why do they want to keep it broken? Why are they not fixing it? Do they need training, quote unquote, incompetent? Or they do it intentionally? Understand that. Actually, it's fascinating as part of reducing suffering and advancing consciousness, right? This understanding, this knowledge, once it's extracted and put into a set of context-free principles, that means future generations, such as my child, your kids, if you have kids. So whether you are a CEO, high school student, somebody who just left prison, college students, 5 years into your job, 20 years into your job, you are the CEO of the company, or you are even about to retire, the Art of Execution framework has something for you because it is comprehensive. So this is about understanding the big picture, the leader's edge skills. So when you are going through a job transition, it doesn't hurt for you to understand the company, the industry, what's going on, what's the politics, what kind of people get hired, what people don't get hired. Some people intentionally hire people who will be loyal to them so they can be spies in public agencies, in government organizations. Private organizations they also have spies, right? Everybody in major corporations, multinational Fortune 500 companies, they use staff as spies. They're sending trainers, they're sending senior type of project program managers, coordinators. They're basically coming to gather information for the leadership to make the proper informed decision. So it's not really a bad thing. It's called transparency and understanding. But in some cases, they take it into spying. In The Art of War by Sun Tzu, chapter 13, I believe, there are 5 types of spies, and I have seen in one company all 5 types, which was quite extraordinary, fascinating. And the idea in the job search is you don't want, there are so many people in transition, so many people have 20, 30 years experience with master's degrees and PMPs and CSMs, and they cannot find work, right? How can you use the odds in your favor rather than against you. The set of principles that I shared at the beginning of this slide deck, those are the principles that will help you to turn the mountain in your favor, and then you will allow you to generate focus, velocity, momentum, leverage your cohorts and networking, and also apply pressure to generate deadlines and pressure for yourself. And that also helps the hiring manager. Once I was working with this young lady, and she came to a dinner meeting with this bunch of project managers, and around 8:30 p.m. before the presenters finished, she goes, "I gotta go back to work." So this is 9 p.m. She was going back to her contract job. So she was like a bat out of hell, which is not a bad quality. I'm not saying we want slaves or people who are not balanced in life, but we know that when she's pressured, she will get it done, right? So you want to get yourself into that situation a little bit. So when you talk to people, people know that you have the ability. They don't have to worry. Almost I'll hire him. He might not be able to deliver. He might be, I don't know, preoccupied with his kids, or he may be too busy, right? And then the hiring manager will be insecure. Then you don't get that emotional commitment. Whatever obstacles you need to remove, go ahead and remove it. Overcome your own personality, your own limitations, your own ego, your own emotional disturbances. End-to-end tracking, be hands-on, be 2 steps ahead. So that's about managing your career transition activities. And this is really used for organizational transformation or project management, but same idea. Every day, find a way to add value. So you skew karma to your favor. You coerce the universe to give you a job by doing this. And I have seen people do this. I have some speakers' notes which I can share some other time. Change management, we talk about awareness, 3 months beforehand, desire. If somebody cannot impact your human needs, your need for significance, your need for growth, your need for change, your need for stability, your need for appreciation, or your need for support, friendship, and love, if people cannot impact your needs, you have no desire. So at work, vertical commitment is important, from the CEO down the line management. People who need to collaborate on a task, they need to go back up to the common leader who can control their performance appraisal, who can make the project assignments, and then they can tweak the desires of the team, because the team will bow down to them, because it's the golden rule. He who has the gold rules, or she who has the gold rules. Knowledge. We are sharing knowledge here, knowledge about the principles, the overarching principles of job transition, the job transition life cycle, ability. Now you know it, doesn't mean you can do it. Go to Toastmasters Club. Looking for full-time work is full-time work, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. You're on it. A lot of project managers are willing to help. A lot of recruiters are willing to help, because recruiters, once they place you, they get paid. So the resources are there. YouTube has everything. Phone interview, second interview, everything. Reinforcement. Get yourself into a group. Put some slides together. Begin to share what you know. So you reinforce your own knowledge and make yourself available to reduce suffering and advance their consciousness, and you can pass along. And I'm not trying to say you need to take my personal mission statement to be yours. However, these are general, generic principles which allows you to reap what you sow. And we talk about going from A to B. So anything goes from A to B. Going for a job is A to B. The idea is, for you to go through the job transition, you need to understand this change, what you need to change, and where you are going to. And understanding these principles and these skills will help you to get to B. A deeper dive into duality, right? We talked about continuum. To be unshaken, to be unmessable, to be unstoppable, to not be discouraged, to be focused despite people may put you on probation, people may reject you, people may browbeat you, people may not appreciate you. How do you keep on going? You go internal. You pick points. In the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Be Proactive, Viktor Frankl, in the book Man's Search for Meaning, talked about how when he was in the concentration camp, they were doing experiments on him, on his body. He realized the biggest human freedom, the last human freedom, is the ability to respond under any circumstances. So that's very extreme. In our particular case, we want to focus on points we can control. During job transition, you can control how fluently you speak, how many anecdotes you have about your jobs, how many examples you have for meeting challenges, conflict management, resolving differences, doing scheduling, bringing project back on time by adding people, reducing content, or increasing time. Come up with 40 anecdotes and prepare yourself. I mean, that's all 100% within your own realm, and all kinds of videos like I have. Other people have offered a lot of useful material, and my cell phone 310-902-3389. Call me, text me anytime, and I'll support you in your transition. So this is duality and diversity, right? I talked about it. You can take your time. You can pause the video and take a look at it, so I won't take time to go through it. When you are in a transition, you may show up in a place. Never get pinback-itis. I talked about it already. Never go, this is wrong, and don't even think to yourself, why is the CEO doing this? Why is the president doing that? How come they're not doing the proper process? How come they're not following the pinback? Don't even think that. Drop it. Because when you keep on judging, it stops you from connecting to what it is, and it puts up a psychological barrier. If you really dislike somebody, when you come around that person, that vibe is going to show. People know 93% of the communication is non-verbal, so be very careful. Observe the points, understand it. Different people are coming at different points, and you're going to observe it. And if your task is independent, don't say anything. If your task is interdependent, but if you say something, you're going to get fired, don't say anything. Not for you to lose integrity, but your job is to stay in play, because the more dysfunctional the place is, the more there is to be transformed, and the deeper you need to go, and the more you need to understand. If they are using spies trying to browbeat you and put you on probation to beat you up and push you out and intimidate you and coerce you, they have reasons, and your obligation is to stay, understand, figure out the reason is, overcome the persecution, and turn the place into a sunlit upland. Go back to the speech by Churchill about the War of England. You can go and take a look at it. Use appreciative inquiry. Always approach things positively. Instead of feedback, what's wrong in the past, do feed forward. Look for a solution. Water doesn't flow back up and goes, well, the manure was thinking, that's why I'm defiled right now, and that's why I'm this way. It's past. Past is dead. It's entropy. It's gone. Let it go. Don't waste your time. Let people be. Let people be at where they are. They cannot change their grandparents to their parents, to them, how they were raised. Were they in the projects? Were they in Beverly Hills? Were they raped? Were they prodigy? Whatever. They are where they are. Accept it. Work with it. Be open. Not about repressing yourself, but having the wisdom and understanding. And if your predisposition gets you your button pushed, deal with it. All right. Avoid debates on where they land. Why 70% of the change initiatives fail? Because of diversity. And here I talk about variation in companies, in jobs, in employers. And you can pause it and take a close look. We have 16 minutes before the hour is up, so I'm going to keep on going. Same thing, your manager's leadership skills may be at different level, and they may or may not understand their role. They may not everybody can be everything to all people at all times. That's not possible. A person changes from the morning to the afternoon, and a company has different stages. There's a book called From Barbarians to Bureaucrats. It's the name of a book. It talks about the corporate life cycle. Then you have product life cycle. Then you have conflict management skills, human traits, Phobias. Wow, he didn't look at me, therefore he didn't like me. We think behavior, when we read motivation, interpretation into their behavior, we project it. And it's very normal and common, but it is oftentimes wrong. We need to be aware and stop doing that, especially me. And you can pause and look at the other principles. So performance level, the capability, performance capability for performance management, there are different levels individually at the group level, group process, at the leadership, the company, the CEO, the C-suite, and the organizational structure, right? And why the structural strategy, why they organize organizations a certain way to accomplish what goal and what stages. You can pause and take a look at this. These are big topics, so it'll take a long time. This is a reminder that connect to the nature of all things, empathize, understand, and then chances are you cannot change your company. Even if you're the CEO, I was the president of a 1,400 people organization, volunteer organization. You cannot control, you don't have leverage. Even if you are in a for-profit company, people can have malicious compliance. You can coerce them, use official power, scare them, but then they can play games, they can go behind you, they can sabotage you, they can cut you off. So the point is cohesive skills and duality skill. The biggest instrument, the most power you have is yourself. So stop bad mouthing anybody, anything, any project is a complete waste of time. That's your circle of concern, but it's not your circle of influence, at least not yet. Focus on yourself, and there's so much power. I mean, you can look at people who had job transition from business into politics, and they can even take the president's office. So go and study that person. Study how did the person apply the guiding principle of getting the employer's confidence. When this person was saying, "Oh, the current president of USA, Obama, was the founder of ISIS," I was very confused. I said, "Oh, how can this be? How can somebody make a statement like that?" But my guess is maybe he knew who he was talking to. I'm not taking sides. I mean, principles like gravity is objective. It's like justice supposed to be blind. So I'm saying analyze it using these overarching principles, the Tao of job transition principle to get the emotional commitment of the hiring manager and see how that was done, and look at how the person deals with conflict, institutional conflict, cohesive skills, how he escalate or de-escalate, and his own duality skills, how he creates his own duality, his own continuums to keep himself going, how he keeps people that he loves around him. Imagine you are a child and your father has put you on a worldwide platform, and your father looks at you with all the love a father can give to a daughter. I mean, no judgment. Just look at it from different perspective objectively, and then you can tell how much power you have if you just work with yourself. Big picture, before you go to a company, you are going to a job interview, if you have the time and the energy, do an analysis of the company. Where is the company going? What kind of organizational structure they have? What kind of compensation, performance appraisal, training, onboarding, communication, decision-making systems they have? And what's their mission, vision, and value statement? What style they have? My way or highway, sink or swim, or collaborative? Some people, if you don't think they are right, then you are out. So there are different people have different styles. Once again, the law of diversity governs. So that's one thing. And the other way to look at this chart is when you are going for a job transition, your goal is to get a job. What is your strategy? What kind of support systems you have? What's your communication system? What's your decision-making system? What's your training system? Look at it. And what kind of organizational structure you have? If you need people to support you for mock interviews, phone interviews, to give you referrals through LinkedIn, and what's your principle? Are you saying, "Oh, this is how I feel. Oh, I'm too busy. I'm not going to go to Toastmasters now." And I even though when I speak, people can barely understand me, and I have lots of filler words, but I don't want to do it. So those are your personal ego, and everybody is to be respected. I'm not here browbeating anybody. If you want to have a goal, the principles should take you there, like the water pursues gravity single-mindedly. So you can just look at yourself, your networking, what skills you have, what skills you need, and what style you have, and what styles you like to adopt. I know this person who is very good, almost on sophistry, almost buttering people up, always saying things, "Oh, people are guiding lights," when they are not guiding lights sometimes. They are lumps on the log. But when you praise people, flatter people, it makes people happy. It's good to some extent, but when you let untruth become the dominant pervasive culture, then for me, it's not the right thing to do. And I understand diversity, but then we need to make our own choices to live our own lives. So Then you can look at the other items as well. So we're on slide 12. There's about, I think, 50 slides in this deck. So I'm going to run through them real quick. If you're not getting the job that you want, you can take a look and go through and see why not using the previous chart. So this is the leader's edge skills. Leader's edge skill, basically, if you want to lead and make a change, that means you've got to be able to unhinge from the current reality, right? And be able to generate what you want by using the law of syntropy. And I talked about that. There's a video on syntropy alone. You never see problems, never talk about problems. Yeah, sometimes you need to talk about problems, acknowledge it, understand it, everybody's on the same page, because solving the wrong problems probably is one of the most wasteful things to do. Solutions, everything's solutions. A leader's edge, you don't waste your time. So this is the work glacier. Everything is in a context, and this is a big topic. Somebody's behaving a certain way, but maybe the manager or the teammates are like this, and the project, the company is shutting down, or the company is struggling, and organizationally it is under investigation, or organizationally it is expanding, or it's going through merger and acquisition. That's going to impact everything else. And everything in life is process, everything is a project, everything is requirements. And you can look at my process ninja skills videos for detail. And then you have principles of effectiveness. And after that, I talked about existential life skills, emotional skills, ego skills, boundary skills, and the 6 human traits, the tit for tat, the creator's complex, the personal filters, shifting identity principle, the monkey mind, and predisposition. These are the ones we need to overcome during our job transition. Not what you think will get you a job, but what will actually get you a job. Not what you think they need, but actually what they need, by understanding your own nature so you can understand the nature of other people, by understanding the nature of other people so you can begin to understand the nature of the job transition, the nature of all things, and the different steps. And when you understand the nature of the job transition, then you can participate with heaven and earth in the transformation of your own career and the careers of other people. Connecting to the truth, Einstein said, all I want to do is God's thoughts. All I want to know is God's thoughts. Everything else is just details. Then you have nature of reality and nature of identity. In duality, I'm a father because I have a child. I'm a husband because I have a wife. So if I think somebody is a bad co-worker, that means I have positioned myself as a persecutor. Is that who I want to be? Is that what I want to do? Is that what's going to get me a job? Is that person going to refer me to a new job when I do that? And again, it's not about bending yourself and selling out, but just understanding it and accomplish your goal rather than like a tsunami or a lightning bolt, but like a dew, like a vapor, like a steam, and just permeate and make a difference. The traits of leader's edge: go around, be in circulation, working 12 hours a day, 7 days, 6 days a week during job transition. That means you can go to Toastmasters Club 3 times, you can go to networking events 5 times. Yes, it can be exhausting, just like a real job. And if you're a senior or a junior project manager, project coordinator, business analyst, you know how projects can come, and I've worked 75 hours a week the last 4 or 5 months. In the last 3 years, I've done it for about 1.5 years. I'm not proud of it. Nobody asked me to do it. I did it because what's necessary, and I did it because I know work is not always there. I've seen it. So when the fishing is good, go fishing. When there's work to do, work on it. Even if nobody knows, nobody will pay you, nobody will promote you, even if they put you on probation, even if they try to push you out. Why? Because you are guided by the principles, by the leader's edge. You understand the big picture, by the cohesive skills. You don't escalate. By duality skills, you don't get stuck and create your own bumpy road. I know I'm saying a lot. I'm going on and on. Again, this is an invitation to engage, to learn, and if you have more questions, I have many other videos. All of these topics are being talked about in the context of the art of execution for organizational transformation, and they can be directly applied to a career or job transition. The Chinese bamboo tree doesn't grow on the surface of the earth for 4 years after being planted. In the 4th year, during the monsoon season, it grows 80 feet. It's like an inch per hour. You can practically see it grow. What's the point? The point is, focus on this piece of it. Don't be too much in a hurry. Oh, I'm a project executive. I'm the hot baby, I'm a genius. Everybody is praising me. They are so happy I'm on the project. That's good. It's good to do station identification. It's good to establish your credibility. But never be arrogant. It doesn't add value to anybody. If anything, it turns people off to listen to you praise yourself. And basically, you are stroking your ego, making yourself superior in front of other people. It kind of not abuse, but if you do it continually, there's no value add, and that becomes sophistry and untruth. And I was on the board of director for some organization for 7 years, and afterwards, I'm not here to correct anybody, to change anybody, but if that's the prevailing culture, and it cannot be changed, because you cannot control their needs, you cannot control their promotion, their bonuses, their significance contribution is a free fall, no accountability, nothing to deliver, membership dues keeps the place going, then I learned whatever I needed to learn, and I need to learn something from somewhere else, somebody else. If anybody has anything they want to teach me, I give my phone number already. So this is about being focused like water, being single-minded, same thing with career transition, job transition. Be focused, forget yourself, forget about everything. Bring home that money to support your wife and kids and husband and home and pets and parents and grandchildren. Cohesive skill, it's the only system that works to de-escalate. All the human systems, karate, aikido, communication, think win-win, that's all good and well, but it doesn't work. 60% of the marriages end up in divorce. 100 million people died in war last century. So it's clearing up. So this is a system, is a topic that can take multiple days. And I got a whole bunch of videos on Vimeo and YouTube talking about this. And you want to apply cohesive skills during your job transition. You want to be cohesive with everybody to the extent possible. But if you are not learning, at some point you need to speak the truth gently, kindly. And if they're not open to it, and if the task is independent, then don't say anything. But if the task is interdependent, then your success depends on them. Then you want to say a few things. Then say very nicely, don't escalate, and pick your timing. Never contradict anybody that day, that moment. Come back, write a note afterwards. Say, this is a different perspective. Appreciate what you said. What do you think about that? So introduce new ideas without browbeating them, being blunt and being obtuse. So how do you harmonize with irate people and people who want to take you out? If that's your goal, if you figure it out, and you want to be there to make a difference, you want to be there to transform the organization, you want to be there to gather the information and to test out the principle, the art of execution is proven under battle conditions, in dire circumstances, it works. And it only works because of you. You need to understand, be able to read the situation, be able to respond, and be able to follow the principles by subjugating your own personal human reactions. All right, we're on slide number 19. We've got 30 more slides to go. We have a minute and a half left. Okay. Transcending a space, transcending a collapse. When things are collapsing around you, what do you do? So no leakage of individual power. So why should you have cohesive power during a job transition, right? You don't want anybody to have, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste your time fighting. You don't want to let your ego take you on a ride. And I know you have your reactions. So when you begin to understand, we talked about this, Steve, Sister Water. So this is the philosophical underpinning of cohesive skills. I have a video segment on this. Case study about somebody trying to throw somebody else under the bus, taking them to HR, escalating them to manager, how this was handled as a case study. And these are the principles from The Art of War and Musashi Miyamoto, the most famous samurai in Japan. Do not flinch. You can do a Google, Musashi Miyamoto. Some of these people are not really Mother Teresa's because some of these are warriors, but the principles they have honed are very powerful. All right, so how to apply the cohesive skills, different levels of cohesive skills, human drama, why cohesive skills, the human struggle, the context, the reason for cohesive skills, ideal solutions and their causes with 8 seconds left, how does water do that, the guiding principle for applying cohesive skills in an organization. So time is up. Let me just run through the rest of the slides. Okay. How do you do reprogramming, right? Reprogram yourself. Don't wait until a crisis hits you and then you fall off the chair, fall off the horse, have a cow, get upset, victimization, I'm not appreciated. Rather than having that, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself like a Green Beret, like a process ninja, like you are studying, like you are going to college, you're taking a class in college. Go through the material, really study it. It will help you. Guaranteed. Why? Because it's gravity. When it's the Tao of job transition is aligned with universal principles, predictable, repeatable, produce predictable results every single time. If you apply the right principle and you train yourself properly. And I haven't been able to accomplish that, but that's how life is. It takes time. How to principle. So it's a big topic. So what's wrong with ego? Duality skills. It's a personal level. And here you can take a pause and pause the screen and take a look at the different steps. Complaining, attacking, violent, disturbing, gnawing, dominant, subjugate, harass, dependent. These are the things, the cancers, the metastasizing cancer of compete, compare, criticize, complain, contain, creators complex. And their manifestations are here. And then here are the 6 human traits here. And their manifestation here. How can you overcome? The goal is to stay in play so you can make a difference, so you can transform the place to reduce suffering, make it better for those who come after you, for your children, and for those young kids who are in school today. How to apply duality skills, how not to make waves, and how to overcome cold shoulders and different levels of cohesive. I think some of these slides are repeat. That previous slide was a repeat. Now the pervasive skills, can the ego be tamed? So it just goes on. I think we should stop now, and the hour is up, running all your skills, driving requirements. So my preferred email is jerry.ks.wang, W-A-N-G, @yahoo.com. So here's Lao Tzu and the buffalo, on the back of the buffalo, on which he wrote out of the kingdom. That's when he wrote the Tao Te Ching. It's not religion, it's not goody two-shoe stuff, it's not anything, just a bunch of principles. This is what one guy said to me, I don't like that stuff, I don't believe in that stuff. Yeah, but nobody's trying to push religion here, nobody's trying to be righteous here. It's a bunch of principles. Take a look at it before you reject it, maybe try to understand it. And I'm not trying here to lecture anybody. For the person's own benefit, these are available. Thank you so much. Bye.